Well. Republicans and Donald Trump thought they had a winning midterm strategy, which is to basically redistrict the country. Just generally speaking, when you put your fate in someone else's hands, whether it's a state legislature or a court, it's not great. And now Republicans are finding that out. Good morning, I'm Jake Sherman, and welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, how redistricting boomeranged on the GOP. Number two, Democrats step all over their own wins. And number three, House admin is marking up the Stock Act with an anvil above their head. Let's get into it. Well. Republicans and Donald Trump thought they had a winning midterm strategy, which is to basically redistrict the country. And it would be a huge plus for the president. And we've been, I would say, at times skeptical of the push for a million reasons. Number one, because when you add Republican voters into one district, most of the time you take them away from another district. Just generally speaking, when you put your fate in someone else's hands, whether it's a state legislature or a court, it's not great. And now Republicans are finding that out. Yesterday, a federal judge in Texas overturned a panel of federal judges in a 2-1 ruling, overturned the Texas congressional map and said that the state has to operate on the previous maps, on the 2021 maps, which, by the way, are pretty good for Republicans either way. They don't get 5 new seats, but they're pretty good for Republicans. The danger, and I'm not a Supreme Court expert. I'm an expert on a lot, college basketball, not really an expert there either, but whatever. The danger is this goes to the Supreme Court and they say, we can't make a decision by, the beginning of December when the filing deadline is. So either move back the filing deadline, which I guess they can do, or they could also say run on these maps until 2028 and we'll issue a ruling by then. That would be a disaster for House Republicans and for Texas, because Texas set off the dominoes that gave Democrats California. And now in Indiana, they're not listening to Trump. They are just every day, there's a drip of members of the legislature, members of the state Senate saying that they will not redistrict the Hoosier state in time for 2026. So Missouri also subject to being overturned. So all of these states are coming up not great for House Republicans. Now, this is subject to changing. The Supreme Court could side with Texas and with House Republicans, and they could aim for 5 seats in Florida, Republicans. That's going to be very difficult. They can get 1 or 2 seats out of Florida also. And Mario Diaz-Balart said, I also remind everyone it's not necessarily a simple task as now we saw in Texas. It's not something as simple as maybe people think it is. The Supreme Court could also strike down the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in the coming months, which would net Republicans more seats across the Deep South. So listen, at the beginning of this cycle, Democrats started in a hole. Many states had redistricting commissions in place, but it's not impossible that they end up netting more seats than Republicans in mid-district redraws, which is a stunning change of circumstance that didn't seem possible just a few months ago. The Kansas legislature also said they didn't have the votes to redistrict out Sharice Davids. Utah court gave Democrats an additional seat in Salt Lake. And listen, the only place Republicans are picking up, not the only place, but one place Republicans are picking up a clean seat is in North Carolina. We said this at the time about Texas, but nobody asked the delegation what they want. Now, listen, I know the delegation, many of whom are listening this morning, they don't want to be subject to redistricting lawsuits and be called to testify, but the entire delegation was against this. Let's just be clear. And everybody who's listening, who's in that delegation, understands that. But still, the White House pressured the Texas legislature to do it, and that's where we are. So this is a pretty perilous situation for Republicans on November 19th, less than 1 year until the midterms. Number 2 story of the morning, House Democrats scored 2 victories on Tuesday, and then they face planted. After months of embarrassing Republicans over Jeffrey Epstein, all but one House Republican, Clay Higgins of Louisiana, voted to release this disgraced financier's files. But then Democrats spent a bunch of the day defending 2 of their own, Chuy Garcia and Stacey Plaskett, from House floor reprimands. The House did vote to reprimand Chuy Garcia, and Stacey Plaskett avoided narrowly a reprimand of her own. Now, listen, no one is saying, I want to address the Chuy Garcia thing for a second. I think we did this yesterday as well. No one is saying Chuy Garcia, what he did, what he appeared to do, was right. right? He basically engineered it so his chief of staff could take his seat right as he announced he was going to retire. Happens in Chicago, happens all over the country. This is not a Chuy Garcia only thing. But the question is, why did Marie Gluesenkamp Perez feel the need to do this in the middle of Democrats doing everything else that they were racking up all these wins on Epstein, on government funding? Stacey Plaskett was allegedly, or appears to have been texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing back in the first Trump administration, obviously before Jeffrey Epstein died. But a few House Republicans helped Plaskett by voting either present or against the resolution. Listen, this is a cell phone for Democrats, and this is something that's kind of out of their control because you can't control, in many cases, individual members' behavior. But a rough week for House Democrats as they were racking up wins on Epstein and reopening the government, and they had to deal with this. Number 3 story of the morning, the House Administration Committee is going to be marking up the Stock Act today. The Stock Act, this is one thing that Congress has not done that is wildly popular. It is wildly popular for Congress to ban stock trading for members of Congress. It's also extremely, extremely complex. Why is it complex? Because what are you going to do about somebody's kid who inherits a bunch of stock from a grandfather or a grandmother who died? Are you going to make that kid sell it? Are you going to tell people when they get into Congress that they have to get rid of all their assets within 180 days? Is that going to make members of Congress or candidates willing or interested in coming to Congress? Probably not. What are you going to do? You're going to keep all your stuff in index funds or ETFs or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're somebody who's got a bunch of money, you're not going to want to do that. If you're somebody who's had a career at a company and you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in stock, are you going to want to do that? These are the complex things that Congress has to wrestle with. Now, Anna Paulina Luna has a discharge petition that she is ready to go on if the admin committee does not move on this legislation. This is another problem for Mike Johnson. I don't get the sense the administration committee is going to move very quickly here. I get the sense that they're going to do this hearing, see where it nets out, see where members are, and then take stock after that. So that's where we likely are. This is going to be a big hearing, and this is something that Congress has been dragging its feet on for a long time, and public sentiment is there. You could say that almost with 100% certainty. The public sentiment is there. People want members of Congress not to be able to trade stock. Just a note, our financial services reporter and author of The Vault, Brendan Peterson, joined Democratic Congressman Richie Torres of New York on stage this week. The two discussed banking at the American FinTech Council's Policy Summit. We're excited. We remain excited to partner with the council to hold this important conversation. And with that, leave us a rating and review. You can subscribe to Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everyone.